He moved across the metal corridor with steps that echoed through the quiet vessel. The young guard named Leon had been assigned to watch over the nursery chamber of the allied visitors. He had accepted the post with calm discipline, though he knew little about the strange travelers who had come seeking safe passage. The vessel carried families from a distant world, and they valued their offspring with fierce devotion. Leon had always believed that any young life deserved protection, so he felt steady in his duty. The chamber hummed with a soft pulse of warm light. Inside were round pods that held the young of the visiting species, who rested within layers of nutrient mist. Leon stood still and kept his attention firm while the crew worked beyond the walls. The visiting species had arrived with wary caution. They had survived a war in their own region and now traveled with careful vigilance. Their leader was a mother named Lyra, who sought refuge for her young. She had 3 children in one pod for safety. She held deep respect for those who protected young lives, and she had been told that humans shared a similar value. When she first saw Leon, she recognized the stance of someone who took his task seriously. She studied his calm posture and sensed that he saw the lives before him as worth guarding. She approached him with peaceful steps. Leon greeted her with a respectful nod. He had practiced gentle communication with the visitors, since their body language was complex and graceful. Lyra responded with a gesture of gratitude. She sensed that he was steady and that his attention never drifted away from the nursery. She admired such focus. Among her species, a guardian of young was considered sacred. To her, he carried that honor with natural ease. She walked around the chamber and hovered her hand above the pod while she checked her children. Leon watched with care as he made sure that nothing threatened her. A sudden tremor shook the vessel, and alarms flickered through the corridor. The vessel had encountered a cluster of drifting debris. The impact rattled the pods, and a sealing latch on the pod that held Lyra's children loosened. Nutrient steam hissed from the crack. Lyra cried out and reached toward the pod, but the tremor knocked her back. Leon reacted instantly. He rushed forward and held the latch in place with his hands while he called for support. The pod vibrated as pressure shifted, and the mist swirled dangerously. Lyra pushed herself toward him and saw that his grip kept the latch from bursting open. She knew that if the pod opened, the young inside would be endangered. Leon remained steady. He held the latch with fierce commitment. Support arrived and patched the breach. The pod stabilized. Lyra checked her children again and found them safe. She looked at Leon with deep appreciation. She saw not just a guard, but a protector who would risk harm for the sake of young lives, not his own. Among her people, such devotion bonded families. She felt a strong surge of respect. Leon simply nodded and stepped back to resume his post, though his hands still shook from the effort. Lyra saw his trembling and recognized that he had held the latch with all the strength his body could muster. She approached him again. She told him that he had her gratitude. Leon replied that he did only what any human guardian would do. Lyra studied his face and saw honesty. She understood that humans valued their young and would defend them with passionate resolve. She found that belief comforting. She also felt an instinctive pull toward him, as if he were part of her circle now. Among her people, when someone protected a child, they became bound to the family with unspoken honor. She wished to express this bond, but humans used different customs. She did not wish to confuse him, so she merely remained at his side for a moment. Days passed as the vessel continued its journey. The damage from the debris had been repaired, though the crew still monitored for weaknesses. Leon returned to his post each day. Lyra visited often. She brought small tokens from her culture and placed them near his station as signs of respect. The tokens glowed with soft colors that shifted like breathing light. Leon appreciated them, though he understood they carried deeper meaning. Lyra sometimes stayed and watched the nursery with him. During those quiet hours, they exchanged stories. Leon spoke about how humans raise children in communities with great care. Lyra told him that her people carried their children in communal pods until they could walk. She explained that mothers often selected guardians who had proven their devotion. Leon listened with interest. One cycle brought an unexpected event. A power relay near the nursery chamber failed, and the internal lights dimmed. The pods flickered. Emergency lamps cast long shadows. The young inside the pods quivered from the disturbance. Lyra hurried to the chamber and found Leon already working on manual controls to keep the system stable. She stood beside him and helped. Their hands moved in synchronized motion. She felt the bond between them strengthen. He sensed her calm presence and felt reassured. Together they restored stability to the chamber. After the lights returned to full brightness, Lyra exhaled deeply. She looked at Leon with renewed admiration. She realized that she had come to trust him not only as a guard, but as someone she would claim as part of her family if her customs allowed. She recalled the old tradition among her people. If someone risked themselves to protect a child, that family could choose to claim the guardian as kin. The claim was not ownership, but a pledge of mutual respect and shared future. Lyra wondered how Leon would react if she expressed such a claim. Humans might interpret it differently. She did not want to cause misunderstanding. Leon noticed her thoughtful gaze. He asked if something troubled her. She said that she was only reflecting on the nature of guardianship. Leon nodded and said that he believed protecting young lives shaped the core of any noble society. She felt a deep warmth in his words. She wanted to share her custom with him, but she held back. She needed the right moment. Several cycles later, the vessel approached a region known for unpredictable magnetic storms. The crew prepared for possible turbulence. Lyra stayed close to her children. Leon doubled his vigilance. When the storm struck, the vessel jolted sharply. Magnetic waves surged through the systems and alarms blared. The pods shook and readings spiked. Leon ran to support the stabilizers. Lyra joined him with swift determination. Together, they shielded the pod of her children as sparks flashed across the control panel. A violent burst of force threw them to the floor. The chamber lights flickered wildly. A section of the wall groaned under the strain. Leon pushed himself up and saw that a support beam had bent near the pod. If it collapsed, it would crush the pod. He rushed toward it and braced his body against the beam to hold it in place. His muscles strained, but he refused to move. Lyra saw him and realized he would not be able to hold it alone for long. She reached for a manual lever that could redistribute pressure. Sparks flew from the panel, but she pulled the lever with all her strength. The pressure shifted, and the beam lifted slightly. Leon gasped with relief. The pod was safe again. When the storm passed, the vessel steadied. The crew hurried to repair the chamber. Lyra approached Leon and touched his arm gently. She saw exhaustion in his eyes. She told him that she would forever honor what he had done. He shook his head and said that any guardian would have done the same. She felt certain that his heart carried a rare devotion. She decided the moment had come. She explained her cultural tradition. She told him that among her people a mother could claim a guardian who had protected her children as part of her family. The claim meant deep trust and enduring respect. It formed a bond that was not restrictive, but supportive. She told him that she wished to claim him in this way. Leon listened with surprise. He asked what such a claim required from him. She said that it required only acceptance of respect and a pledge to maintain their connection. She assured him that it did not demand full merging of lives or abandonment of human identity. It was a symbolic honor, like a family bond that crossed species. Leon considered her words. He felt moved. He had grown to admire her strength and calm leadership. He respected her culture. He told her that he would accept her claim. Lyra's eyes brightened. She made a traditional gesture by placing her hand near her heart, then extending it toward him. He placed his hand over hers. The gesture sealed the bond. After the bond was formed, Lyra introduced him to her community as a guardian of her children. Members of her species greeted him with warm gestures. They placed tokens of family around the nursery chamber. Leon felt humbled. He realized that he had become part of a culture far different from his own. Yet the bond felt natural. It was built on shared values. As the vessel neared its destination, the families prepared to disembark. Lyra gathered her children and approached Leon. She thanked him again. He told her that he would carry the bond with pride. She said that her children would one day know his name and the courage he had shown. The moment was peaceful. They stood near the pod and felt the weight of their journey lifting. When the vessel landed, the families stepped onto safe ground. Leon watched them go with a sense of fulfillment. Lyra turned back one last time. She made the family gesture again. Leon nodded. Their bond would endure across distance. He returned to his duties, but he knew his life had been changed. He had learned that guardianship united beings beyond culture and form. The mother who had claimed him as kin had shown him that honor carried no boundaries. He stood